Hello! Welcome back to the Celestine Light Esoteric Mystery School. Today I'm going to introduce you to some mostly rare crystals and minerals that have special abilities to coalesce, utilize, and focus magical energy. On rare occasions, you may have the opportunity to acquire some of these very unique minerals and crystals. If you do, even if the cost is out of your budget, please do yourself a big favor and obtain them. As time goes on, you'll be very happy that you did as you discover these special stones and what they can do for you. In subsequent lessons, I'll explain in greater detail how you can use these special crystals and minerals in Celestine Light magic. For now, I wanted to bring them to your attention so you can start keeping an eye out for them and acquiring them while giving you a little bit of information about them and how you can use them. There are many more than the handful I'm going to show you now, and I'll be talking about some of the other ones in subsequent lessons. Remember, all of the crystals and minerals I will be talking about are in relation to using them in magical ways. To do this, the crystals and stones must have enchanted energy for a specific purpose imbued into them. If rather than doing it yourself, you prefer to have your personal crystals, gems, and minerals enchanted by Celestine Light Adepts in a circle of power, you are welcome to send them to me for the enchantment. It is a paid service as it takes a lot of our time and expertise. If you would like to take advantage of this service, just click on the enchantment tab on my website, ambrosewin.com. I should note that many minerals do have standalone benefit even if they're not enchanted. Unenchanted stones are frequently used in healing work simply for the benefit that comes from their shape and their color and their general energy. Okay, now I'm going to show you some examples of some of the crystals and minerals you should seek to obtain if you want the power of magic to amplify the purposes that you're trying to achieve. All high-quality quartz crystals are piezoelectric, meaning they can actually build up an electric charge when pressure is applied to them. They have many industrial uses due to this ability. Now, double-terminated quartz crystals used in magic and healing work are valued for their unsurpassed ability to create a flow of energy traveling both directions because of the crystal points on either end. This effect creates a resonating wave of energy that becomes more and more powerful with each passing back and forth. Now, it doesn't, when I said big is always better because big holds more magical energy, but it doesn't have to be a big crystal. Quality is very, very important. You can take a smaller double terminated crystal like this one, and the quality of this crystal with a nice center point on both ends, fairly center point on that end. So this crystal, even though it can't hold the total amount of magical energy a larger crystal, because of its extreme quality, this is a totally natural crystal, hasn't been polished or anything, works very well. Now, the other thing to remember is that it doesn't have to be clear quartz. Here's a double terminated quartz crystal, smoky quartz crystal. It's actually smoky in the middle and kind of clear on each end. Double terminateds, because of their ability to have energy flow both directions, are very useful in certain applications. Next, let's look at lightning sand. Here's a sample of lightning sand. Pretty strange looking, huh? When lightning bolt strikes sand or emanates up from the earth through the fine grained sand that has a proper ratio of quartz and calcium, it's possible to have the heat from the lightning fuse the grains of sand together. Now, lightning sand is quite rare. I got this piece by San Augustine, Florida, and it's a powerful tool for transformation to a new reality when it is magically enchanted for that purpose. Next, we're going to look at extra large almandine garnets. This is a almandine garnet crystal from the Boy Scout camp in Wrangell, Alaska, Boy Scout mine in Wrangell, Alaska. And this is a particular crystal shape of garnet. Comes in many, many different crystal shapes. This is one of many, but this is a particularly useful one for magic. It has 32 crystal faces, natural crystal faces on it, and if you look really close, you can see how it works with those crystal faces. When magically enchanted, almandine garnet, this is an almandine garnet, that occurs in that rare 32 face It's called a dodecahedral form modified by a trapezohedral edge face. It connects the possessor very powerfully and clearly to the wisdom and knowledge of their ancestors and other unrelated people that have passed from whom they seek knowledge. It's a very helpful crystal in magic. Now, all almandine garnets can hold this magical power, and it doesn't matter if they are polished on their crystal faces, as long as the crystal faces are still in their natural position and natural size. The more crystal faces the garnet crystal has, and the larger the crystal is, the more magical energy it can hold and distribute. Let's look next at water agates. Water agates, here's a sample here. Let's see what gets you here. Water agates have a hollow space inside, and sealed within that space is water, and oftentimes an air bubble that was encapsulated millions and millions of years ago when the agate first formed. Now think about that for a minute. You're holding in your hand air and water from millions of years past. I'm going to see if I can show you this one a little so you can see the water inside. I'm going to shine a light through it, and you can see the water hopefully sloshing around inside. Because there is both an air bubble and water inside this one. Now, possessing an enchanted water agate connects you to life. The possessor feels one in their mind and heart to people, animals, and plants that existed on the earth thousands, tens of thousands, and even millions of years ago, and also to all life on earth today. This is a very great stone to have on you to enhance your connections when you do Celestine light contemplative movements. Let's look next at an amethyst spike crystal. Here's a natural amethyst spike crystal. You see it's got the amethyst point on one end, and it tapers down to a very sharp, natural, rough point on the other end. Now, this is not a crystal point. This is the only crystal face on it. But what happens is these crystals grow in giant geodes, and they're all packed together inside, and they actually come in, the crystals are kind of coming up at an angle, so these points have to taper down the root, basically. It's like a molar from a tooth that's a root. These are pretty great. Now, these geodes that these come out of, some of them are so big you can stand inside of them. And in the process of cracking open these geodes, occasionally single loose crystals with naturally tapered rough ends will be knocked loose. Now, amethyst spike crystals are very useful in magical healing to remove the effects of curses and hexes. Small spikes can be made into jewelry, and when enchanted are especially useful in helping a person's mind to not be befuddled by magic and adversarial arguments, or even to some degree, but the dulling effects of drugs or alcohol. Let's look next at tourmalinated quartz. To be effective for magical purposes, the quartz must have very high clarity. It's what we call optically clear quartz. Even more important, it must have a pleasant ratio of black tourmaline to quartz, where the tourmaline needles are not too dense, and there are good voids where no needles are present, and you can easily look through the clear quartz. Lastly, it must have at least 12 needles in the piece of quartz. Now, here's a piece that I obtained, a rough piece, and then I made a quartz sphere out of it. So you can see the black needles of tourmaline inside the sphere. Now, tourmalinated quartz that meets the criteria I just told you about prevents a person from being discombobulated or affected in any way by any type of negative energy, whether it's remotely sent like a magic or psychic attack, or just someone standing in front of you yelling in anger. Now let's look at pyrite quartz phantoms. A phantom is when there's there's many different minerals that can cause a quartz phantom. Basically, the quartz grows as a crystal, the crystal growth stops, another mineral, in this case pyrite, but it could be chloride or any other type of mineral, that is deposited on top of that quartz crystal, and then another layer of quartz starts to grow on top of that. That creates what's called a phantom inside the crystal. Now, the two types of phantoms we're going to look at today are pyrite phantoms and six-sided phantoms. Oftentimes, when a crystal grows a phantom, it doesn't have all six sides of the inner crystal covered, so you only may see one or two or maybe three sides of that phantom. In this case, this is a pyrite phantom, and you can see inside the pyrite that's covering that original crystal growth that was later covered by another crystal growth. Now, pyrite phantoms can be used for several purposes, but one of the best is to give someone the willpower to get through very difficult times, to know that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, even if you cannot see it. Pyrite phantoms help lessen and heal the blows of adversity that can strike us hard in the game of life. So as we're talking about phantoms, let's look next at beautiful six-sided phantoms. Now, six-sided phantoms are very rare, very hard to get, and especially if it comes in a center point crystal. Now, this crystal I mined up again the mid-fork of the Snoqualmie River in Washington State, and this is a crystal that you can see as you rotate the crystal around. The phantom inside is all six sides, and it's a center point phantom inside as well. Now, this crystal is very opaque on the outside. It's crystal clear on the inside, but it's quite opaque on the outside, so it doesn't let you see that phantom inside quite as well, but it's still very effective. Now, here's a more clear version of that same thing, so you can see the six-sided phantom inside the crystal. Enchanted phantom quartz crystals are excellent for revealing things that are hidden. What type of things are revealed depends upon the mineral that formed the phantom inside the quartz crystal. The more sides the phantom has, and the more optically clear the quartz crystal is, determine how powerful the magic can be inside the crystal. Phantom crystals can be polished, so for instance, this one that's actually crystal clear inside but kind of opaque on the outside, I could polish this crystal as long as I kept the crystal faces exactly as they are. So I can't modify the shape in any way, but I could polish the crystal so that the phantom was more visible. That will not affect the magic that's able to be used in that crystal. Now, if you do this, the natural long crystals are the very best to use. You want to make sure if you polish them, that you keep the edges of the faces very, very sharp. Let's look next at a quartz power wand. Now, this is a quartz crystal that is a wand. Now, in this case is a completely natural crystal. To be enchanted with magical energy, a crystal wand needs to be completely natural. No cutting or polishing, wire wrapping, or any other additions or changes to the crystal. In order for the optimal energy flow to occur, all crystal wands, whether they're big ones or small ones, need to be at least 5 times longer than they are wide, at their widest point, and 6 times is even better. Now, crystal power wands can be used to harness any magical or healing energy for any type of purpose and amplify and focus it for more rapid and more profound effects. Next, we're going to look at a quartz healed wand. Now, this is a particularly useful tool for anyone who's in the healing field, who uses crystals to help heal. Now, these are very hard to come by, but it's well worth your time to keep an eye out for them at stores and shows. First off, they have to meet the minimum 5:1 length to width ratio to qualify as a wand. They must also be high quality crystals with lots of clarity. And even more challenging, they have to have a healed broken spot on the crystal. This is a spot like this crystal that had at some point in time the crystal broke. You can see it's actually bent. The crystal is bent. So at some point in time it broke during the growth process, and then that break healed. So this is not a glue, this is just a natural growth of the crystal. It started growing this way, broke, got tilted a little bit, continued its growing spurt. So it's a healed crystal. Now, enchanted quartz healing wands are exceptionally powerful for transmitting sympathetic and empathetic energy to help heal broken emotional states. They're very useful in working with anyone that has depression, mood swings, or psychiatric disorders. They can also be used to speed healing of injuries, including, of course, broken bones. Let's look next at a needle wand. A needle wand is also has that 5-to-1 ratio, but it's a very long, skinny crystal. Again, it needs to be optically as clear and perfect as possible and not polished, just a natural crystal, just been cleaned out of the ground. Now, these are used for focusing magical effects on a very tiny area. They can be used for healing, and they're also useful when crafting and enchanting talisman for magic. Now let's look at a large ulexite slab. Ulexite is it's not a difficult mineral to get. So in all the ones I'm showing you, this is the easiest one that you can obtain. It comes from the borax mines in California, and it grows as seams in between the borax. Now, ulexite has a very unique property. Its nickname is TV stone. It actually transmits images through the stone. It makes it look like you're looking at a TV. Now, in order for this to be useful for magic, it has to be a clear image. So there's a lot of ulexite, like here's a big slab of ulexite here, but it's not a very clear image. It's got a lot of, you can see my fingers through it, but it's got a lot of cracks and crevices and fractures internally. Now, here's another piece of ulexite. It's much clearer. You can put those two together and you can see the difference in clarity between one and the other. Now, what you can do with that clarity, let me show you. Here's a thing for putting your cups on so they don't heat up your table too much. And you can take that ulexite and you can put it right over that, and you can actually read it through, but it looks in a way that looks almost like a television that you're looking through. It's not like you're just looking through a piece of clear mineral or clear glass. Now, even that larger piece will transmit that image, but not nearly as well. You can see it's much less clear. So when you're getting a piece of ulexite, you want to get the clear ulexite that you can see right through very, very easily. Now, ulexite is a wonderful tool for divining things. So for instance, if you wanted to find out something about someone and you had a picture of them, you could put that picture underneath the ulexite, focus on it, and you would be able to just be flooded with images of that person. So if you're a medium, if you do any kind of divining, you need a piece of ulexite. Very, very helpful. Even if you have someone who's sitting in front of you, you can have them hold the ulexite and you're looking at their palm through the ulexite, and you're going to get a lot more insight into that person than you would otherwise. Let's look next at amethyst scepters and other scepters as well. We're going to focus on amethyst scepters. Now, these are some scepters I mined up on Denny Canyon, up near Snoqualmie Pass in Washington State. Now, what makes a scepter, again, the crystals grow, and at a later date, more crystal growth occurs, but this time, in this case, it's amethyst. It doesn't always have to be amethyst, but you see it grows like with a little head on the end, so it's longer, and the shaft is long, and then the head grows out, the next growth. And here's a really striking one here, this one in the middle. You can see how much larger the head is than the shaft. So that's a scepter. Now you can get other scepters. Here's a scepter that started out as a smoky quartz crystal, but then when the later growth came in and formed a head on it, that was out of clear quartz. But it is a nice six-sided scepter. Oftentimes scepters are kind of misshapen, and those are not useful for magical purposes. You want to get a nice scepter that has all six sides clearly, that has the outside growing bigger than the shaft, because there's what's called a reverse scepter where the outside actually grows smaller than the shaft, the head grows smaller. That's not useful for magic, but the ones with the larger head, later growth, very useful. Now, for enchanted purposes, amethyst scepters, going back to the original one, become potent magical magnets, causing the possessor to have strong desires and be motivated to improve themselves in leaps and bounds. It's very helpful for anyone who's trying to lose weight, get rid of bad habits, do well in school, or any other significant self-improvement. Now let's take a look, and lastly, this is my last one for today, we're going to take a look at red zincite. Here's a red zincite crystal. Now, zincite comes in several colors. Intense red is the most useful color for magical purposes. Most of the zincite available for sale came from a single smokestack at an old zinc refinery in Poland. When they tore down the smokestack, they found that the walls inside were covered with beautiful zincite crystals growing everywhere. Remember the old Star Trek movie where they had the whales and Scotty wanted to build a tank on the spaceship for him, and he went to a place that had an aluminum foundry and he asked him if they had a recipe for a transparent aluminum? Well, this is actually transparent zinc. Zincite is an ore of zinc. It's actually almost pure zinc, and it's totally transparent. And it's really cool colors too. As zinc is a metal, zincite crystals are very heavy. Now, the best zincite crystals for magical purposes will have a tapered shape ending in a point that's at least 2 inches long, crystal. Now, what zincite's useful for when you absolutely need to have something to occur and you're casting a spell or enchantment to that effect, a red zincite crystal is the most important crystal you can use. But it coalesces magical energy very, very, very powerfully, and it should only be used in extreme situations and by very experienced practitioners of magic. Now that's all for this lesson. Thanks for watching. There will be future lessons where you'll get to see more special crystals and learn how they can best be used to help you become a magical adept. Now, as I mentioned earlier, if you already have some minerals and crystals that I talked about in this video or other ones, and you would like them enchanted to help you, you can send them to me to be enchanted. I do all requested enchantments in a circle of power with at least 3 Celestine Light Adepts. Just go to my website at roseland.com, click on the Enchantments tab to find out how to take advantage of this service. Please subscribe to my channel to get notified when new lessons are posted, and please like my video. Namaste, my brothers and sisters.